So I just hit a huge milestone recently, finally hitting a 10K month, which has been a goal of mine for as long as I've been freelancing. And on this video, I'm gonna share a lot of what I learned. Hopefully this helps you avoid the mistakes that I made and get you to this point much quicker than it took me. I'm gonna break down my business, what I do to get leads, what I do to help clients, and peel back the curtain of how I do things. So we're gonna go through this just like a video game and level up from 0 to 10K. So out of our 5 levels of a successful video editor, first we have level 1. Level 1 video editor is just doing it. Most important part is obviously just starting. So getting to level 2 is pretty easy. Level 2 video editor is being good at it. Not great, not advanced, but just being able to complete the videos that you're given, make people relatively happy. And now usually your lowest clients are the most demanding, keep that in mind. But if you could get the audio sounding good, export in the right way, know all your frame rates, know the basics, it really helps you get some momentum in this career. But at this stage, we're not getting paid. And early on, I thought 200, 500 bucks was a lot of money. And only when I started working with businesses and doing marketing, did I learn what kind of other businesses got paid for what they're worth and how can I apply those same things. And so level 3 video editor is a valued video editor. Now I was going through this a couple of years after I started freelancing, and I started working with companies and doing videos for them. And those videos had success for that company. Those videos had an ROI. And as somebody, this is going to be probably one of the most important things I tell you right now. This is what I was so stubborn on, and I still am, to be honest. My big thing is I think quality is everything. I think quality will make me money. I think quality will get me this client. I used to think if I shoot another spec ad, this or this will happen. But in reality, for the most part, definitely in all of my experience, what makes videos successful in my line of work is if it's valuable for the company, if it makes them money or gets eyes on them, or whatever the goal that the client says for this video is, not what I say, only what the client wants. And this part of my career was very hard because I had a lot of things to put on my resume, but they didn't always give me the opportunity that I wanted. For instance, I was helping clients get a lot of money on ad spends. They were ranking on Amazon, selling a lot of product. I had another win of helping a client have a successful Kickstarter, several $1,000s earned in the course of a week once the video was released. But I had problems with finding success. I had problems paying the bills all throughout this. And so here's how I managed to go full-time, getting more clients, better clients, and upping my prices. Now, keep in mind, when I say go full-time, doesn't mean I went full-time and it was smooth sailing from there. This was an up and down, have some wins, have some losses. It was the hardest part of this whole journey. So at this stage, what really helped me was thinking as a business and really focusing on how many leads am I getting? Am I converting those leads? And what are my prices? How valuable are my services? I was able to generate a couple leads every month, convert on most of them, but they weren't the clients that were big enough to make me full-time. So I started putting my energy into what was the most important thing, which was getting new clients, getting bigger clients. I used to think if I spent extra hours working on this new effect in After Effects and delivered it to this artist, somebody would see it, whatever, snowball effect. And in my experience, the creative aspect, it hasn't helped me do this full time unless it's backed by some marketing aspect that it's helping with, such as, a viral hook. A lot of those viral hooks by videographers are very creative transitions and effects that get people hooked, but that's a marketing metric that we're measuring. So back to this, what really helped was going on Indeed, looking for job postings, and there's part-time and there's retainer contracts on that website as well. And I locked in my first retainer client and I immediately made a huge mistake. For the first time ever, I had thousands of dollars coming in consistently every month, and I got to do this full time. And for this client, I treated this retainer client like a full-time job and wasn't looking for too much work outside of it or the right work. Worked on some personal projects instead of looking for other clients. So the moral of this story is, unfortunately, you can't rely on one retainer client. What happened with that client is we had a huge success. I negotiated a raise with that company, with that client. They said yes, and immediately they started giving me less work. After months of not inviting me in for the consistent work that was normal, they emailed me letting me know that I was too expensive, which is just a huge fail on communication with their part, because if they were upfront with that, I would have just stayed at the normal rate. And because of this unnecessary thing, I lost that client when we could have just kept things the way it was. Boom, I'm back working a daytime job And damn, you know, especially somebody who's obsessed with this, somebody who, for the most part, too much at the time was associating my identity with how successful I am in my career. This was a huge hit. And it just sucked. So yeah, this is the longest part. How do we get to level 4 though? I think something that not a lot of people talk about is simply getting a full-time job. Do we have to be freelance? I'm freelance right now, but I think it would have been easier aiming for a full-time job, spending time consistently to apply to those jobs, instead of reaching out to clients that paid me a couple $100s here and there. To have that jump of making 40, 50, 60K a year with less time. But to be honest, if you have 1 or 2 good clients where you could work with them on the weekends, then you get to add that onto your salary. In my experience, this worked great because it allowed me to upgrade all my equipment, which is really helpful for your career. Sorry, gear does matter. And it came at a good time because I was frankly exhausted. Freelancing is really hard. I was so stressed and I wasn't making a lot of money, besides a couple really good months here and there. And so we finally hit level 4, which is profitable video editor, by having a full-time job and occasionally working with other clients. So after you make your clients a bunch of money, you can finally make yourself some money. No, not really, but this full-time job also educated me of what type of clients have the money to afford my services and basically any other video editor services that wants to make this their living. My business totally changed at this level. All my services were about to be reliable in order to get results, whether that's profitability, views, and having a good workflow and communication system throughout, that the client got the results they're looking for and enjoy the process as much as possible. That's it. That's literally what I try to do to this day. Get the clients the results they're looking for, make the communication as enjoyable and easy as possible. And that equals a good client experience. So here's what you should be doing to go full-time, whether you have a full-time 9-to-5 or you're freelance, which I'm doing right now. For one, if you're not charging more than $30 an hour, you got to start somewhere. I learned this while working at a freaking grocery store. I just needed to charge higher. I put in a lot of work at my craft and I needed to believe that it's valuable to who's ever buying it. And if the client can't afford it, then they can't afford the service itself. It's not my fault. I just need to be looking and offering my services to a different niche or community. Or else, one, I'm going to be burnt out working a ton of $200, $500 gigs, or two, I'm not going to be able to do this full time. And there's a lot of people doing this full time because what you're doing is valuable. When I first got this full-time job, while I was applying, it was going to be my first full-time video job. Was full-time freelance before, but I could have approached this very timidly. In reality, I'm working at a grocery store before this with some occasional freelance, but you have to learn to charge your value. You could do it where I was at, where I wasn't even full-time, or you could do it when you get offered a couple 9-to-5 jobs and you finally slowly learn, hey, I'm actually worth the money that I'm getting. So when I got that full-time job, I instantly asked, hey, I know I have the right marketing background for this. I'm a talented videographer and I want to start this job off at a higher salary than the one you're offering. And speaking of the social aspect of it, I kind of linked it with their business. You're trying to be the number one in your niche. I don't think you should settle for just any videographer or video editor. My editing skills then helped me get that increase in salary. It's really just the social aspect of it and knowing your value. So if you can, start charging more now. You're going to have to do it eventually. And as you get 1 or 2 clients, that kind of takes the financial burden off. All your other clients are going to be raising in quality and the quality of enjoying the service itself. You could say no to those clients who, want you to film in a nightclub or something for a couple $100. Also start working your business as, is this business going to continue in my next stage of life? I was getting married at the time. I didn't want to work with these clients and I was too stressed for not making enough money. I had to make that change sometime. And I know when I watch these how to make more money videos, the mentality part is like, oh, skip through. I want to just know business facts. The mentality and confidence of being able to charge a client more is one of the most important aspects of doing this full time. And so beyond full time, how do we get fucking rich? Just kidding. I'm not rich. I'm not rich at all. Next level of video editor is connected. Now, if your personality is like me, I'm very secluded, working by myself. I really struggle with networking. But when I went freelance, I had to reach out to everyone I could in all these smaller opportunities as well, and making time to reach out to get work. And a lot of the time I would work on so much spec work that I didn't have a lot of time to apply to jobs. I was too exhausted to apply for more work. And if you really think about it, that is the most valuable thing you can do, is to apply to another position, to reach out to another client. So if your workflow is so slow and taxing that you're stressed and burnt out by the time you finish your client work, then you're gonna be too stressed and burnt out to grow your clientele and your business, and that's not gonna get you anywhere. One of the things that I really struggled with was managing business in general, leads, taxes, all this data stuff. So I started reaching out to other freelancers and production companies to help them with their services if they just had too much and didn't have enough bandwidth to finish these projects and they needed help. So as I said before, my strengths were I was very obsessed with my skill set and very obsessed with quality of my video, and being able to help production companies in Los Angeles and other freelancers with that is the majority of what I do now. And on top of that, I have a lot more energy. So when I do client work, I'm comfortable enough that if that client says no, I'm fine. So I charge the right price and I agree on everything beforehand. So once we complete that, then that's a success because that's what we agreed upon. A good way to have improved workflow is if you use Premiere Pro, you automatically have a Frame.io account. Immediately look that up, sign it up, use Frame.io to send your video deliverables to your clients. It's gonna look more professional and your revision workflow is gonna save time. Second thing, start a Premiere Pro project preset and get organized. 80% of your workflow and editing should be systematic, 20% should be creative. So you shouldn't be exhausted on that initial 80%. This isn't all about your skill. There are people who post stuff online, really creative stuff, and big businesses pick them up and you're like, damn, this creator's working with this brand, doing these really cool transitions. What's behind that? It's about what I talked about initially: leads, conversion, and pricing. They got leads from posting their content online. If you want to do that, spend some time posting content online consistently and try to convert your leads. Have a Google document, copy and paste your responses. And if you help your clients out, they'll actually help you out too. How I got $10,000 a month for the first time was, one, working with my usual client who I have a good rate for my quality of editing. And then on top of that, closing a client with not a super high quality video, but actually more deliverables. Now, businesses will recognize deliverables more than they'll recognize quality as far as what's valuable. And the important social aspect of converting that client was I was actually comfortable. I was like, I'm thinking of giving them a little discount. I've worked with this client before. We're on good terms. That client actually said, no, we'll pay you your usual rate. We just want to work with you. The process of working with your client, caring for your client, and getting your client's results actually makes them want to pay you more. And if it doesn't, then you're not working with good people or people with a budget. These last couple of years, like I said, starting from trying to make movies, I always made my own effects. Now I'm kind of doing a similar thing with the brand I have right now, making my own effects, hiring really talented professional game designers, sound designers, and other videographers to help with this Video Loadout brand. And when I was starting out, hiring a couple people with creating some sound effects that I'm not familiar with, I had to be honest with my budget. I didn't have the most money to pay a freelancer at the time. I had to find a freelancer that matched my budget because I just couldn't go over it. I make enough money to pay the bills and that's about it. California is really expensive. But being on the other side of that conversation just really helped me understand that these clients have a ceiling. And it took me like 4 or 5 years of trying to squeeze more out of bad clients instead of spending my energy looking for better clients. It took me 5 years of trying to be a better creative instead of trying to be a better businessman. And at the end of the day, now hitting my first 10K a month, hitting 8K a month, hitting 7K a month, I actually did that less stressed than when I made 2K a month. I work less now than I did in college, having time to take Sundays off, going to mass, spending time with the family. And that's all because I looked at my business and without emotion, picked out what matters. And that's gonna be how you get leads, how you convert those leads, how you raise your prices. If you're charging hourly, aim for $40 to $50 an hour right now as far as 2024. If you're not very social, push yourself, grow your network. And lastly, make sure your business is systemized so it takes less energy for you have time to grow your business once you're finished with the creative aspect. Once you hit a huge milestone with your client, negotiate a higher rate. All right, that's all for this video specifically. I'm gonna add on to this eventually, but to be the most valuable video as I can possibly do, I'd like your help. If you guys can leave a comment for those videographers trying to go full-time or past that, what is a simple fix that just multiplied your business tremendously, helps you make more money or make it way easier? Please be as specific as possible, because this is a great career as long as you look out for yourself, don't overwork, and just keep growing. So I hope as many of you as possible can make this your career as soon as possible. I'm gonna try to do my best to help y'all out. Follow for more advice. Pick a date a week from now, pick something from this video to do and make it happen. Good luck, y'all. Cheers. Thanks for watching.